Well, I guess we should have expected this one. On top of the already 9 or 10 trailers that have come out this month already, over on the video game sphere, there is a new video game adaptation, as yes, Among Us are getting an official cartoon series. And to be honest, I want to give this a little bit more of an optimistic push than usual from what I've seen from the internet, but also, this looks to be a very simple project. The very fact that we have already 1 million Among Us animations on YouTube makes me think this doesn't even stand out against those. For being an official production under an actual official animation studio, I kind of would have thought the visuals would have been a bit starker. It's very flat and simple. And also from watching this trailer twice, I feel like this series has already got into the territory of starting to spoil itself once you start actually looking into the details. But before we get there, let's just talk about the series' involvement at all. Now obviously, I don't need to explain to you what Among Us is, so of course we're going to be skipping that, but this is a series being produced by a handful of developers. Namely, you've got, obviously, Innersloth, who are the actual video game developers of the initial Among Us games. However, the big name studio that are actually attached to this are CBS Studios, who have their own animation branch called Animation Productions. And though they may be handling things on the more upper levels of the executive business layer of this production, we then have Titmouse as the actual animation studio actually doing the actual animation. And Titmouse Studio were previously known for Big Mouth. Again, if you ask me, kind of a flat-looking, not very appealing aesthetic. However, they also did The Legends of Vox Machina, with these two projects connecting them to both Netflix and Amazon Prime. You got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, Pokemon Together, The Mysterious Miss Magius, the anime opening to Hearthstone Mercenaries, as well as, to a certain extent, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. A bit of a weird mix, this animation studio. There isn't exactly a specific art style to them. They just seem to be, overall, pretty decent animators, going by the different prompts as needed. Apparently the specific parts of Spider-Verse they worked on is apparently Miles' sketchbook pages, Spot's origin flashbacks, Miguel's heartbreaking origin story, and the baby power advert for Miles Morales. Interesting. Now, this is a project we probably could have seen coming a mile away. The fact that it's 4 years late is a little bit interesting. Even 2 years late, if you ask me. I feel like this should have been made the moment lockdown started. But hey, maybe these projects take ages and ages and ages. Has the hype of Among Us as a meme kind of died down? Yeah, you don't hear about Among Us memes anymore. I, much like everyone else under the sun, of course, played this game during lockdown. Though I was also the type to play it with friends, not with fellow YouTubers, because I am not good with networking and I don't know anybody. But even still, I can live vicariously through everybody and watch a million disguised toast videos. You know, Among Us is an integral part to a time in my life as well. And the idea of this being a fully extended series could be interesting. I've seen a million 3-minute recap animations or comedy animations of actual gameplay that happened one time. But to have a genuine mystery series where you're trying to work out the murder mystery as it goes on and every episode 1 to 2 characters die is decent and good. It's a nice whodunit. Not to mention with such simplistic characters as Red and Lime, it'll be nice to see a vague sense of personality brought in to showcase all of the Easter eggs and assets and references that is the Among Us mini-world. And we get to establish exactly what every color's task is aboard this ship as part of the crew. Add on to the fact you've got the star-studded cast of 11 people added to the 11 colors of the Among Us world, and you've got just a decent roll-around story. You've got Randall Park as Red, the captain of the Skeld, Wayne Knight as Lime, the engineer, Deborah Wilson and Phil Lamar as Yellow and Brown, the ship cooks, Patton Oswald as White, a contest winner apparently, Kimiko Glenn as Cyan, the gemologist, Liv Hewson as Black, the geologist, Dan Stevens as Blue, the doctor, Yvette Nicole Brown as Orange from HR, Ashley Johnson as Purple, the chief of security, very nice, probably a FNAF reference hidden in there as well, and Elijah Wood as Green, the unpaid intern. With each of the cast, of course, coming from all sorts of famous things from the past. Ashley Johnson being known for The Last of Us, Elijah Wood from... you know Elijah Wood. We've got representation from Downton Abbey as well, Orange is the New Black, Mad TV, and Seinfeld. God, that's an old reference. It seems a nice way to fully expand as best you can the Among Us universe. We even see Captain Red dealing with the higher-ups of these Among Us beanly creatures. At the same time, having seen this trailer on loop while I'm saying all of these words, it also kind of feels like you can already pass and understand the whodunit mystery of this mystery already. It's nice that you can see all sorts of references, like elements of the tasks or the fact that the balloons are just stuck to the window. There's a nice artistic aesthetic that the banner says, "We're not dead," until the imposter tentacle monster pops up and it just says, "We're dead." Very basic, simple, artsy things, but the thing to note is, hey there, thank you for making it halfway through this video. As per usual, do come along and subscribe if you haven't already to keep up with any animated movie trailers. And some non-trailer stuff. There is Inside Out 2 coming out tomorrow, so I'll be reviewing that real soon. When there isn't a trailer to talk about, we cover all elements of animated movie stuff that we can. Cancelled, subtext, series, reactions, all of it, it's all in there. But for now, I just want to say thank you for making it halfway, and let's get back to the rest of Among Us, where maybe we can answer who's actually the killer already. God, I wish this series had more depth. But the thing to note is, there is only a finite amount of colors. And though in this trailer we saw the imposter with every single color, how many colors are there? Count them all up on this scene and you'll see there's only 11 characters. There are 11 cast members and 11 colors. And when you look at the actual Among Us game, originally there were 12. There are 12 colors here. 11 of them are represented in this series, one of them is missing. What do you think the odds are that the one that's not in the trailer is in fact the imposter? And we don't know who they are yet, but whoever they add as the 12th installment celebrity visit, if it's not the higher up executive, is in fact the killer. Is that now the entire plot wasted? Am I going to enjoy the Among Us story along the way? Like, am I actually going to be invested in the tales of Red, Captain of the Skeld, or not? In fact, the fact that this is a series means this could go on a lengthy while. How long is an episode, and how many episodes are they going to do? You can easily make multiple seasons of this with just another season on another map with a whole different set of a cast, but this also feels like a bit of a non-project. There's not enough depth to it yet, and that's not just because the animation looks pretty flat and like any other YouTube animation. In fact, I'd even go on to say maybe this series would have done better if you actually had an influencer cast setting. A genuine, official Among Us stacked cast with the likes of Disguised Host as one of the crew members. I don't know, I feel like would be a little bit more intertwined with the internet explosive zeitgeist that Among Us kind of is. That being said, while I've got all of these pessimisms, weird speculative angles, and the idea that perhaps actually this series is not that impressive, there are some notable people involved in the crew of this production that do sound pretty damn good. The main one being Owen Dennis, previously being the writer and storyboard artist for Regular Show, as well as being the one at the helm of Infinity Train. Now, Infinity Train is, as I understand it, a cult classic of a production, a series on Cartoon Network that is absolutely critically acclaimed, and then just kind of got stampled over and left to the side. Described as a beloved anthology series, and having a 100% certified fresh critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, this guy seems to be the one stitching thread that has people genuinely interested in this Among Us series, because he's pretty damn good at his job, so maybe this series has a chance. Other people on the production side of things are people from Inner Sloth, such as Carl Nisa, Marcus Bramander, and Forrest Willard. And then from Titmouse, we have Chris Prenoski, Shannon Prenoski, Antonia Canobio, and Ben Kalina. What a surprise, people from the production studios are involved. Beyond that, we didn't even know where this series is releasing, or when. Being just shown at the Summer Games Fest, apparently we're still just in the early days. There is no platform that this is attached to yet. There is no release date. Some people suspect it's probably this year, and judging by the fact that every trailer that's been releasing around this time or a little bit sooner have been still this year, I reckon it's probably the same, like a December release. It's a lovely Christmas project, I guess. It's nighttime outside the ship, so maybe that makes sense. But it's in production. Nobody necessarily asked for it. It's hopping on the massive successful popularity that Among Us obviously has, but it's also not like a mainline runner from Netflix or Amazon. It's just the developers of the game itself going to somebody else, and they went to Titmouse of all people to have it be done, and CBS. It's it's on the back foot, you know? A series that's already fallen out of the memey zeitgeist, and it had a very long run anyway, so they really waited as long as they could. It's got a great cast involved, and I mean, we haven't really seen Among Us on the big screen or streaming screen since Glass Onion, I guess. But also, from what I've seen so far in the trailer, the visuals don't impress me, the characters still seem pretty flat, and the very fact that there's only 11 characters and 12 are in the original just makes me think they've already spoiled what could have been an interesting dynamic of a genuine whodunit that slowly releases more episodes until you find out who the actual killer is. A real Danganronpa series it could have been, if only it wasn't so rounded. But I guess that's kind of the Among Us design anyway. At least we finally know what their hands are supposed to look like. On that note, I'm going to end it off there. Another trailer to add to the ungodly amount of ever-growing collection of trailers coming out June 2024. And I still haven't even gotten around to the Plankton movie, or the fact that they're reviving most Cartoon Network shows. But for today, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do let me know your thoughts on the Among Us series, now that it's real. God, I wish I could have capitalized on Among Us more when it was relevant. And I shall see you in a little bit.